program. Then I told them about one incident about seeing my squadron commander get killed. I told them about that. And when the program was over, we went to the commons area. We drinking coffee, having a good time, visiting like you do at reunions.
Yeah.
Having a good time. And I will never will forget what some of those graduates said to me. One old boy that I had taught in the years before that. I started teaching in 1947, by the way.
Wow.
I don't look that old, do I?
No, you don't.
He came up to me and he said, one of them said, you know, World War II is an important chapter in American history. And there's not much in the history book about it. He said, the kids need to know about that. Then an old boy came up, he said, man, that's what he said. He said, you ought to go to every school in this parish. We don't have counties, we have parishes. You ought to go to every school in this parish and tell every student about the war and what it is to get you. They need to know. That was in 1995. We were not in a war at that time. He said they need to know what war is like. So that answers that.
So you became a living history book.
Well, you know, look at the last part of that. Our real heroes were killed over there.
I think you're a hero too.
Oh my.
And you've been writing the stories of the folks that live here at this retirement home. Isn't that true?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Some of the messages from this fellow sitting right here. And see if I can find all that stuff. I've got it right here. I've done it for all of them.
Wow.
Here are the ones when I did this. First ones.
Oh, I love it. Is this my copy?
Yes,
or is
this
wow.
is all yours. Take back with you.
I'm so excited. How great
I
is this?
especially did his news war story. This is the war story about him and all those others of that.
Wow.
Stick those in there.
I love it. I'm taking that home.
And there's another two, but you've got them all. You had not see that you get them.
That's really beautiful. Do people get emotional when they talk
Yes,
about their stories?
they can't keep from it. They can't keep from it.
Yeah.
Now this fellow right here,
Yeah.
his wife is over here in our cottage.
Yeah.
She was a nurse during the war, and I've written some of her stories. She won the Bronze Star for treating wounded veterans in Vietnam. And she has Alzheimer's, right, Harold? And he goes above and beyond the call of duty taking care of her.
What does Mr. Hatter do?
What did he do?
Well, what does he do for his wife? How does he go above and beyond?
He stays right with her 24 hours a day almost.
I visit her every night, and I get her Saturday afternoons and Sunday afternoons. We have dinner together, watch the football right now.
Amen.
and I enjoy her company, but I take her back at 7 o'clock every night because that's when I get the latest for bed.
Oh, that's beautiful. Does she remember you, Mr. Hatter?
Sometimes, and sometimes she doesn't. And we've been here 5.5 years living in the same house. And when I take her in, she says, it's like I've never been here before.
Oh my goodness. Can we go back to when you first met your beautiful bride? Tell me about how the two of you met.
Okay, first off, I was married before.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And separated. And I went to Germany in 1965. And one of the first people I ran into was May. She was the president of the officers club.
Oh my.
And I was sitting in her chair.
You were dead done.
You gotta get out of the chair. That's my chair. I have to watch the bartender with the cash register and the cook in the kitchen. And we got to know each other well. Traveled around Europe, had a lovely time, and I chased her around the United States for a while. And because we were regular officers, we both were career military. We kind of worked a deal to go to Vietnam together, even though we weren't married.
Oh my.
And we went to a place called Pleiku.
Mm-hmm.
It's in the Central Highlands, and she was a nurse anesthetist, and
Wow.
she was head of the male nurse anesthetist there. She had 7 people working for her.
Brave woman.
And and they were so good that when the hospital was being rocketed, they never stopped an operation. They kept right on. They stayed right at their duty positions and never ever stopped.
That's amazing.
Kind of like MASH.
Yeah.
You remember that?
And-
Oh, I love that show.
In the sense of MASH, this hospital was the first place the wounded came to. The helicopters would pick them up in the field, and they'd come to Mace Hospital. They would work on them there and keep them there until they could transfer them to the main hospital in Tokyo. And after the Korea, or after Vietnam, she went to that main hospital in Tokyo and she saw some of the same people again.
My word.
I can really sympathize with Harold for this reason. My mother had that before she died, and I can really sympathize. The caregivers sometimes, with Alzheimer's patients, are worse off than the patients. Many times the patients don't realize what's going on. See, they know you sometimes, does. And the caregiver are the ones that take the brunt of it.
My goodness. Do you ever tell her all the old stories, Mr. Hatter?
I asked her if she wants to see the pictures. I thought that might jog her memory, and each time she said no. I was disappointed because I thought it could refresh her memory.
That's right. Wow. Well, I think it's beautiful the way you all fell in love. What was it about her?
Everything. And there was considerable sex appeal there.
Oh, that is so sweet.
They got married in the United States Embassy in Tokyo.
When we came up out of Vietnam, my divorce was final, and we went down to the American Embassy in Tokyo and had an embassy wedding.
That's amazing.
Not many people do that.
What is that like?
Well, it's more an administrative procedure because you're not really married when you leave the embassy. Then you have to go down to the Tokyo mayor's office, and he marries you again. Then you're officially married. And our marriage license is written in kanji. We have no idea what it says.
How interesting.
but when we have a disagreement, I pull out that marriage. It says right here, you got to do so and so.
That's awesome. Now, were you both married in uniform?
Yes.
Oh, that's amazing. That's so cool. Well, going back to the war.
Which war?
Okay. Let's start with the first war you fought. Was that World War II?
No, Korea.
Korea.
He was in Vietnam and Korea.
What would you say in the Korean War was the most courageous act that you saw?
Well, nothing really was heroic. We were more professional. This war was ran by professionals. We didn't have draftees or anything. We had some World War II guys that were in the reserve that got called up, and the rest of us were career military.
Wow.
And so we wanted to do a good job to enhance our career. And it was very methodical, very businesslike. We're going to expend this much ammunition. We're going to expend this many risks.
Right.
And we expect some results out of you.
I see. Was there a person who inspired you to persevere in the midst of all the terrible things that were going on?
No, but we were kind of self-motivated. You didn't, because you wanted to make a career, you wanted to do a good job.
I see.
And I never saw any acts of cowardice or anything like that.
Amazing.
But here's a picture of where we lived. These were the tents, and this is a mess hall. And these are the tents that we lived in, 6 guys to a room.
Wow.
Now these are Korean houseboys, and because you can't lock a tent, anybody can come in. So we always had to keep somebody on guard duty.
Oh my
And they would also wash our clothes, bring us hot water to shave in the mornings and things like that. And the thing and we paid them about 4 times the rate of an adult. But the main thing they wanted to be a houseboy for was every Friday we'd give them a chip, which meant that they could eat in the mess hall.
Oh my!
They they could get leftovers, and of course the cooks knew what the deal was. So they'd always cook in abundance. So when these houseboys they would eat after we ate, they would come in, and you ought to see them fatten right up.
What was some of the things that they ate? What did they eat?
What we ate. And we
American
forbade
food.
them from eating kimchi.
That's right.
If they'd come in
Strong.
a tent, it reeked to high heaven. It smelled like somebody had thrown up.
Oh my! I've heard that's pretty strong
Ooh,
stuff. Yeah.
Really bad. Now this one particular guy, it was Kim Ho Sung. And they had announced at the squadron meeting in the morning that a bunch of refugees had come in overnight, and they were in a compound just off the base. And some of them were in really bad shape. And they said, if you can take one of them, if you can even take some clothes, shoes, or anything, that would really help them. And if you can take on another houseboy, do that. So I went down, and the guy that was in charge, I said, show me the hungriest, skinniest guy you got. And he took me to him, and I said, I'll take him home with me. And it was only about a quarter of a mile, and I had to stop twice to let him rest because he was so tired and hungry. And I took it back, fed him, and the whole time I was there, he got good food and good pay.
You took care of it.
You probably changed his life, Mr.
I hope I did.
You did.
Now this other guy was a different breed of cat. This was just a rice paddy Korea. This guy was in the second year of the University of Seoul studying chemical engineering. And he was a real sharp guy. And we had a shortwave radio. And we could tune in to the Chinese on the front line. And he would translate what they said to us.
That's amazing.
And one time he just burst out laughing. And I said, well, what is it? He said, they're saying bad things about you.
It's good to know. That's amazing. So what did you learn in Korea? What would you say you took back home?
Well, to look around. I lost about 20 pounds over there, but my neck size increased one full size. Because when you're flying in an airplane, you're all alone. We had a sign over the door that said, there's nobody but God, you in the house, in the cockpit today, and God's awful busy. So it's up to you.
Oh my goodness.
But we were fighting MiGs, and mainly our squadron was dive bombing, and strafing supply columns, trucks, anything that would take supplies to the front line, trains, anything that we could take. Destroy that would keep it from going to the front lines where they would shoot it at us.
What missions y'all were called to serve? That's pretty big stuff. Tell me about God. Was he close to you when you were overseas?
Well, not particularly. I kind of figured it was up to me.
Yeah, I understand.
But there was one time that it kind of shook me. It was the day that we lost the guy in front of me got killed and the guy behind me got killed. We were dive bombing. And in dive bombing, one airplane follows closely behind the other. And then you get down and you aim, you drop your bombs, and you get the hell out of there.
Yeah, right. Smart.
And I had trouble going to sleep that night. But when I finally did get to sleep, I had a dream. And you've seen this picture of Uncle Sam saying, I want you?
Yeah.
I had that picture, only it was God. And he said, why not you? The guy in front of you got killed, and the guy behind you got killed. And I couldn't answer it.
Yeah. We all wondered why they got killed. And we were laughing and talking on the way down to get on the planes with the other crew, 11 men on that crew, 11 of them. Get on target. They're all killed, and we're still here.
And you say,
you wonder about it.
Why?
Why not me?
Yeah, you have a purpose.
But that was the only time I felt like I had a real experience.
Yeah.
Wow. Did that change you in any way in the days afterward?
He didn't need to.
He's good just the way he is, huh?
It was almost like a business with us. You were doing there to do a job. You did a good job, and you didn't complain.
Wow.
In World War II, we didn't have any better sense to do what we were told to
That's
do.
right.
We did it to the best we could. We didn't blame anybody. We did what we had to do.
The big difference between Korea and Vietnam was in Korea, we flew in large formations of airplanes. And say anywhere from 28 to maybe 32 of us, airplanes with single pilots, would attack a target. In Vietnam, we went in pairs, just two guys. And we would have ordnance suited for two airplanes attacking enemy troops primarily. And in Vietnam, in Korea, we put out a lot of napalm. What they didn't burn, they would die of suffocation because it burned all the oxygen out of their air around them. And if they were in trenches and revetments, the first guy in would drop two 500-pound bombs, The second guy in would dump 2 cans of napalm in there.
That'd do it.
And then we'd go over to the next one, and blow that one up and put napalm down in there.
How do you handle that?
No problem at all.
Yeah, it's just business.
It's my business.
Kill or be killed.
Yeah.
That's it.
And how can I do it better?
Yeah, right.